You are looking at map number 3 out of 1000 for our Doomwad challenge, Old Still Life. Now, unfortunately, there's not going to be a whole lot of information about this map. Usually I try and tell you like how many enemies are in there, how many secrets, things like that. Unfortunately, it did not win a Cowcow Award, and there's not a whole lot of information on the Doom Wiki about it. However, it was a runner-up for winning an award in 2021. After the scathing review I gave Unhallowed and how unfun that map was, this was a breath of fresh air, with a few notable complaints about this map. However, let's start with how it looks. It looks like a Doom map, and it plays like a Doom map. You'll see there's enemies that pop out of walls occasionally, but there's not too many enemies. And that has so far been my main complaint with so many of the maps that I've played so far, is that there's just so many enemies and it feels so unlike Doom, and it's just like clear thousands and thousands of enemies. Here there certainly is a lot of enemies, but it feels much more accurate. There will be 3 or 4 enemies, and towards the end it gets a little bit harder. It'll spawn, like 10 or 15 enemies, but it's nothing unrealistic. It's not 600 Revenants, it's not 500 Cacao Demons. It seems like an appropriate amount. And it's a very nice mixture, like a classic Doom map. You have shotgun dudes, you've got imps, you've got pinkies, you've got specters, you've got Cowcow Demons, you have a few Barons of Hell, you have one Spectre, I think, so it's a very good mix. It's not just a spam of a whole bunch of really hard enemies. I feel like it's a true to the game kind of mix. I will say that this map is an absolute maze, and most of what you're going to see kind of in the background is, me just recording the map and playing it, is me running around with like a chicken with my head cut off. Like, it is so hard to navigate this map. So many parts look the same. There's so many switches that when you switch them, it feels like they don't do anything. Now, I did eventually figure it out. I believe I spent about 30 minutes on this map. I didn't actually beat it. I died right at the end and decided I didn't want to go through it all again, which is ultimately the only thing I would say is negative about this map, but that has a huge negative, right? Like, if you think Doom 1, classic Doom, how many times have we played E1 M1? How many times have we played E2 M1? How many times have you replayed all those classic Doom levels because they were a blast to play again, they're a blast to go through the secrets, everything is so great about the pacing. However, with this one, it was such a frustration trying to solve the puzzle that I didn't want to come back to it. And Doom has certainly had puzzles in it, right? That's half the gameplay. One half is walking around slaughtering demons, and the other half is minor puzzles with like key cards and small movement jumps and things like that. This just cranks it up to 11 in such an unfun way that you end up backtracking 1,000 times until you figure it out. Like here, these buttons seem to raise and lower different parts, and I was absolutely certain that some combination of pressing these buttons and moving in the right direction was going to get me to the right area, when, as far as I can tell, this was an absolute false flag. Like there was nothing really here for doing this. There was no purpose to doing it. It was just existed. I also felt super starved for ammo through the entire thing, and obviously again I'm playing with the Brutal Doom mod on, so I have the rifle, which isn't a standard weapon and has its own ammo, but without that I wouldn't have made it as far as I did. Like, I almost felt like Resident Evil level of, okay, I need to conserve this ammo, so I need to use this gun. I only have 2 shots left of this gun, so I need to, only use it for bigger monsters, which to my knowledge isn't really a old school retro Doom thing. I can't really think of any of the old levels where I was constantly out of ammo and guns. In the newer Dooms, of course, you are constantly swapping guns because the whole point is you run out of ammo on another one and then you chainsaw them, you get more ammo back, and you're supposed to use a variety of weapons. But I didn't really feel that too much here, just that I was always ammo starved. Back onto the good, the music was fairly good. Good background music. I know I've said a few times said the music was really good and a few times said that it was really bad. Here it was noticeable as background, it was enjoyable to listen to, it wasn't anything that I wanted to mute, it wasn't forgettable, decent background music. Again, the only flaw I can bring up is we're 4 or 5 minutes in the review and you can still see that I'm stuck in this room trying to figure out, is this a puzzle? Is this what I'm supposed to do? Because there's just so many switches and so many things that I could not figure out where to go. For the sake of your sanity and mine, I'll go ahead and speed through a lot of this, and even at 9 times speed, like you'll see I'm going back and forth a lot in rooms and switches, and it's a lot of the same. This part definitely looks a lot of the same. What I did find interesting though was certain parts of the map led you back to the start, and it kind of reminded me of, like I believe Skyrim was the one who popularized this, where when you finish a dungeon, rather than having to backtrack through the entire dungeon, it just kind of poops you out right at the beginning again. And that's what I got here. A lot of the things brought you right back to the beginning of the map, which was an interesting way of avoiding backtrack. So big props for that. As far as I know, there are no secrets hidden in this map, and like I said in my last review, it's not a Doom map if it doesn't have secrets, right? Doom is known for its secret. If you're going to make a Doom map, you need to include at least a few secrets. I will proudly say I think this is one of the few maps I did not have to engage cheats on to actually get through, which again speaks to it's got a nice difficulty curve to it that I didn't need to absolutely cheat to see the map. Now I did again die right at the end, and you'll see that, and didn't feel like playing the map all the way through again, but it was still a very, very nice, refreshing change of pace. You'll see I actually used the save function a lot here because I didn't want to die and go through it all again, so sitting here at 12 HP, afraid that I was going to die, I decided I need to really start saving a whole lot more. Here's another example of the switches that, okay, I flipped the switch, but nothing happened, so I don't know what these switches are doing because there's so many of them. You'll also see back there was a part of the wall that looked a different color. I did touch it to see if it would do anything different, and it did not. And that made me really curious, like what was the design choice between having a different colored wall that clearly looks like a secret wall but having nothing behind it besides disappointment? You know, it seems like an interesting artistic design. And because I didn't know what half these switches did, whenever I flipped a switch I ended up back in this room, which you will see it looks a little different, so I can't say for certain that it didn't change the room, because it did change some things, but again I don't know why or how or what the purpose was. Once again, we're going to speed up the stuff and skip through a really humiliating part where I had to fight an Archvile, but I was super low on health and I was super low on ammo, so I was throwing grenades at it and ended up blowing myself up like 50 times. So we're going to go ahead and skip through that. Again, you see switches upon switches upon switches, so many switches that I am flipping here as I'm trying to make my way through this. Here's that part, the Archfiend, that was a little embarrassing. Fast forwarding should end here in a second. We can talk about kind of the last part of the game before I died here. That was really enjoyable. So we'll see, I finally got the key cards. You can see I got the blue and yellow key cards, so I made it through the maze, and we finally went to this outside area where you can see the red key card, which is the last thing that will open up the exit and allow me to end this level. And this is where I was talking about if I hadn't had the rifle from the Brutal Doom mod, I don't think I would have made it through this section. This is literally the only ammo I had left. Every other gun was basically dry, and we're fighting Hell Knights and Cacao Demons, and then eventually Imps and Shotgunners, so I don't realistically see how you could do it with all the ammo provided, but I'm not going to say it's impossible. Like the other maps, there's no speedruns that have been accomplished for this, so I don't know that anyone's ever beat this map, but I'm going to say with fair certainty that people have beaten this map. It is a little bit longer, but it seems way easier on the difficulty scale, so I'm assuming some people have beaten this one. As far as all the other maps I've reviewed, this is probably the most easily beatable one. Now we're going to hit the speed up button one more time just for the sake of you being able to see the very ends of it here. So this is where I was talking about that the spawns get a little bit more crazy. Here we have Cacao Demons and Hell Knights spawning. When we flip switches on the inside, we're going to have, you know, Spectres and Pinkies. So they do start to up those spawns a little bit more from what it originally was, but not terribly. Still manageable, still decent. And another switch, I don't know, again, I don't know what this switch did. I flipped the switch and more things spawned, so I assume I'm going in the right direction. There's the old adage that if you're under attack, if enemies are attacking you, it must mean that you're going in the right direction. This section I didn't like so much the design on because I felt like I was going to fall through the floor randomly, like it wasn't clear that this was ground. I do appreciate that there were invisible rails up so you couldn't fall into space and just, you know, fling yourself off the map. That I definitely appreciated because I didn't want to die there. This, again, it spawned a bunch of monsters on top of here. I didn't have a whole lot of ammo, but I took out what I could. And then I made the really stupid decision of, oh, they're spawning too many monsters, I can't take them all, I'm just going to run to the exit because I have the red key and win that way. And that's where, again, I died, and I didn't really want to do all this again just to click the switch ending button, so that was it. That is the map, Old Still Life. Check it out.